The Iran-Israel conflict has ignited a firestorm of reactions, but in India, it's exposed a deeper truth about hypocrisy and selective outrage that demands our attention. When the Iran-Israel conflict erupted, leading to the deaths of numerous Iranian military commanders and scientists, certain elements in India attempted to organize pro-Iran demonstrations. In Delhi, particularly at Jamia Millia Islamia University and Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, familiar faces from past agitations, including some Kashmiri separatists and leftist activists, suddenly emerged to orchestrate protests. Local Delhi journalists confronted these protesters with uncomfortable questions. When Hindu minorities in Bangladesh faced brutal attacks by Islamist groups like Jamaat-e-Islami, when their temples were demolished and livelihoods destroyed, where were your voices then? The protesters stood speechless, their hypocrisy exposed as videos of these exchanges went viral across social media platforms. These confrontations weren't just fleeting moments, they struck a chord with millions, highlighting a glaring double standard that has long festered in certain activist circles. The bitter truth is that many of these same protesters had openly celebrated on social media when Hindu temples were vandalized in Bangladesh, posting mocking emojis and derogatory comments. They showed visible delight when reports emerged of Hindu families being forcibly displaced, when Hindu children were expelled from schools. Yet now, these very individuals suddenly posture as human rights defenders for Palestine. When they attempted to organize protests in Delhi and other Indian cities, local police issued clear warnings. You may protest peacefully, but if you disrupt public order, the citizens themselves will handle you. And indeed, whenever these agitators crossed the line, ordinary Indians pushed back forcefully, causing the protest to collapse almost immediately. This public response reflects India's growing awareness of its strategic partnership with Israel. It's a sign of a nation waking up to the need for unity and clarity in the face of divisive agendas. This pattern isn't limited to Delhi. In Kerala, certain radical elements with a history of supporting extremist causes, from Saddam Hussein's Iraq to various Islamist movements, have now taken up the Hamas banner. Shockingly, in states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, some groups even projected images of Hamas leaders in public displays until local communities and police intervened with stern warnings: remove this terrorist propaganda immediately or face legal consequences. India's message is unequivocal. We will not tolerate any glorification of terrorism, regardless of the pretext. This swift response from both authorities and citizens shows a maturing India, one that refuses to let its streets become platforms for extremist propaganda, no matter how it's dressed up. The irony is particularly stark in cities like Lucknow, with significant Shia Muslim populations. Despite Iran being a Shia majority nation, even Lucknow's Shia community refused to endorse pro-Iran demonstrations. Similarly, in Hyderabad, authorities swiftly shut down attempts to organize such rallies. The underlying reality is impossible to ignore. Those who remained silent, or worse, cheered when Hindus suffered in Bangladesh, cannot suddenly claim moral high ground regarding Palestine. This selective activism, rooted in political convenience rather than principle, has been laid bare, and it's resonating with Indians across the spectrum who are tired of such duplicity. In Kerala, certain self-proclaimed intellectuals and student groups, predominantly comprising Malayali Muslims, continue fueling these divisive agendas. However, they fail to recognize a crucial shift in India's social landscape: the public's growing intolerance for such double standards. The Indian state is monitoring these activities closely, and more importantly, ordinary citizens are no longer willing to tolerate hypocrisy that threatens national unity. From social media to street corners, Indians are calling out those who cherry-pick causes to suit their narratives, and this collective pushback is reshaping the discourse in profound ways. The writing on the wall is clear. India is undergoing a profound transformation. Those who align themselves with global terrorist organizations, whether Hamas, Hezbollah, or any other extremist group, will face consequences not just from law enforcement, but from society at large. And when this backlash comes, it will be swift and unforgiving. This video carries a vital message for India's Muslim community. Supporting terrorism in any form, whether through direct action or propaganda, will only lead to greater isolation. In today's India, which fiercely guards its sovereignty and security, there is no place for terrorist sympathizers. The choice is straightforward: stand with India's national interests or prepare to face the wrath of its people, because in the new India, terrorism and its apologists will find neither sanctuary nor sympathy. To fully understand the stakes, let's consider the broader context of India's evolving relationship with Israel. Over the past decade, India and Israel have forged a strategic partnership rooted in shared interests, from defense cooperation to technological innovation. Israel's advanced military capabilities and India's growing global influence make this alliance a cornerstone of India's foreign policy. The Indian government's firm stance against terrorism, coupled with its support for Israel's right to self-defense, reflects a pragmatic approach to global security. This partnership is not just diplomatic, it's deeply rooted in mutual respect and shared challenges, particularly in combating extremism. The hypocrisy displayed by certain protesters also ties into a larger global trend of selective human rights activism. Across the world, we see groups championing causes that align with their ideological leanings, while ignoring atrocities that don't fit their narrative. In India, this is particularly evident in the silence over the persecution of Hindus in Bangladesh, where over 1,000 incidents of violence against minorities were reported in 2024 alone, according to human rights groups. Temples were desecrated, homes burned, and families displaced. Yet the same voices now rallying for Palestine were nowhere to be found. This double standard undermines their credibility and fuels resentment among Indians who demand fairness and consistency. From a domestic perspective, the backlash against these protests signals a shift in India's social fabric. The rise of social media has empowered ordinary citizens to challenge narratives that once went unquestioned. Videos of Delhi journalists confronting protesters have garnered millions of views, sparking debates about accountability and hypocrisy. This public engagement is a powerful force, as it shows Indians are no longer passive consumers of media, but active participants in shaping the narrative. It's a reminder that the power of truth lies not just with authorities, but with the people themselves. The rejection of pro-Iran protests is not just about this conflict. It's about India asserting its identity as a nation that prioritizes security and unity. The government's swift response in cities like Hyderabad and Lucknow shows a zero-tolerance policy for terrorism-related propaganda, a stance that resonates with a public increasingly aware of global security dynamics. This vigilance is crucial as India navigates its role as a rising global power, balancing domestic harmony with international partnerships. The Indian Muslim community, which constitutes over 200 million people, faces a critical juncture. While the vast majority are patriotic and integral to India's fabric, a small but vocal minority risks alienating themselves by aligning with extremist causes. Community leaders must step up to guide youth away from divisive ideologies and toward constructive dialogue. Programs like interfaith initiatives and youth engagement forums can bridge divides and reinforce India's pluralistic ethos. India's media also has a role to play. The spread of misinformation, as seen in exaggerated claims about the Iran-Israel conflict, underscores the need for responsible journalism. Outlets that glorify terrorist groups or push divisive narratives must be held accountable, whether through public scrutiny or regulatory measures. Encouraging media literacy among citizens can further empower them to distinguish fact from propaganda. As we look ahead, India's response to these protests is a testament to its resilience and commitment to national interest. In my next video, we'll explore how India can strengthen its global alliances while fostering unity at home. For now, let's celebrate the power of a united India, one that stands firm against terrorism and hypocrisy, ready to shape a future where truth and justice prevail.